Last week, we had a demo from Antoine, I think. I don't remember why.
Custom user settings.
What?
Custom user settings and
Custom user
Tailwind. Maybe Tailwind theme.
Okay. To fix backup and destroy tenants, we talked about strategies for that and how to implement that. Today, demos we have.
Oh, I've got a couple of demos.
Dean. Let me think. You mentioned something. Shh, don't say anything. I need to make my brain work. What did you watch? Oh yeah. Photoshop. Anyone else? Okay. Topics. Let's see. First time. Then status update version 1. I think we merged PR. We did, and there are new ones coming. So libraries update. All the packages have been updated, and the CS proj have been moved. No, the CS proj were moved already, but all the libraries have been updated. MVC, Razor, packages that we use. In this case, just MVC, Razor, but other things. Okay. Like Fortnite, Owen, all these things. From MS, Matter fix some CSS, and there are other PRs coming for that. Well, coming for that, for library updates. Portrait call. I shouldn't use that. Call. Dev and filter. Good. So last week, the second here, we saw that use DocumentId in indexes. Use DocumentId in indexes. It's not just that, it's also using the correct index, the correct combination of fields for each index based on the queries that we use. So Jerry went over every table to add the correct list on each table. So example, user index, document ID, user ID, all the fields. Okay. PR, then this one, move edit template action buttons to the top right. Edit template action buttons to the right. I assume because when we edit a template, it can be big and then the button is not visible. So is it also sticky? It's sticky. Okay. ContentDisplayManager to ContentItemDisplayManager. Okay, file name. Content is the same. Sitemap custom path. What is that? Sitemap
So it was a PR from one of our Italian contributors, where he wanted to be able to put items in a sitemap that weren't necessarily content items, or URLs in the sitemap that weren't necessarily content items. So this allows you to put in any path into a sitemap manually.
Okay.
So if you have, well, actually, there's already a module there for decoupled, but if you have controllers and you want to be able to put those into a sitemap, you can now do so.
Because it's extensible, it's just a new, what is called a new sitemap source builder. Cypress 6.4, so updated Cypress. Because it's faster. It's more beautiful. There is pinnacle environment development to every configuration. Okay. So this will drive, I assume, exception pages. Things like this when you run from VS Code. This is defined by default by Visual Studio. This has to be configured in VS Code. Oh, these are tabs. These are spaces. Fixes taxonomy content list filter. Oh, thank you, Jean-Thierry. We talked about it during the triage. Yeah, I think so. And then we explained that we should index published in test for these also, so we can filter content items in the taxonomy pages that are also draft. We could not do that before because we are not indexing the taxonomy part for non-published items. So now the table has that. Good job. And close support for join. So this user, Sky, uses SQL a lot. I just mentioned as a PR this morning on this SQL. So this is adding in joins support for the end operator. Example here. Here join and another constraint. Okay. And also ensuring that we can pass a param there. But that was for free. So that's good. And they had to change the SQL grammar from irony and change the logic here that will navigate through the EASC with the new elements. Interesting. Good job. Not easy. Content list search does not submit on Safari. We mentioned it, I think, on triage. So if I remember, so LR is for screen reader only, because this doesn't work on Safari. And this change should be applied everywhere we have a filter. Remove empty lines, mkdocs, updating the framework 3.11, more translators, merge dashboard widgets. I'm not sure everyone remembers that, but Antoine made this feature that will create widgets on the dashboard, the main admin page, that you can customize. So this can be custom dashboard widgets with whatever you want. And can be also dynamic because they are just widgets, content items. And Niraj has already started improving the UI as expected to make it more dynamic, like drag and drop widgets, edit buttons, things like this. So very nice. I assume every module should come with some reusable dashboard widgets so that you can customize the dashboard based on the module you are using, like users, like latest blog posts, comments, so many things. Admin menu in blog recipe. What is his name used for?
Just the name of the admin menu.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
The display name.
Yeah, that's weird to say for blog recipe. Interesting. GraphQL packages updated. Graphical. It's not GraphQL, it's graphical packages. Don't we have a resource for that?
No,
okay.
Because it is only used in the admin.
Okay. Still, there are many things that are only used in the admin, but maybe it's only used by this module. Then that's fine. This one, liquid dashboard display. Okay. New contributors, shortcode name validation. So Richard just saw that sometimes you will type some shortcode names, but it will not work. So now he's adding validation such that you can't type a shortcode name in the admin when you create dynamic shortcodes. That won't work because the name doesn't work. So now he's using the official rule about which chars are available in the name. Oh, it's even changed since the time I saw the PR using the scanner. Interesting. So, okay. That's the best way. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, because you had some regex in there before, which didn't really want to see, so use the scanner.
So that's even better. Modals index for Trumbowyg. What could go wrong when you start playing with the index? But here it's removing it, so I won't complain. So, but it's a little, because 1040 is better than what? 99999. Question is, what has been broken now? We'll see that next week when we look at the next commits. Raise condition in DistributedShellHostedService. Null checks. It's not understand what was fixed, but DistributedShellHostedService must be hard to reproduce. Okay. Fix step type derivation of site setting steps. Site setting. Deployment step factories. Get steps. Get steps. Step type. How did you find this issue?
It's actually been reported a few times. So when we did the generic site settings PR that Antoine and me did a few months ago, it's now a generic type So that doesn't work in the deployment steps because generic types don't serialize well. It was reported a few times, and I kind of knew that was going to be a problem when I saw the issue. Because the factory was never quite designed to handle generic types originally.
Okay. Refactor content zone tabs cards current containers less dynamic. Did you do the changes I mentioned? No, later.
I did open another issue for those.
Good.
They'll come later.
So no more dynamic, everything in the I shape. Because in these cases, we don't need dynamics. That's good. Awesome, thank you. Correct GraphQL name for HtmlField. Default tenant prefix. The position in the documentation was wrong. Fix nuget restore database integration test. What is that? Oh, the next. Oh, because of the certificates. Oh, you can just do that and it works. Ooh. If you use .NET on Linux and you use NuGet, then you had issues in the past 2 weeks restoring NuGet packages. That's one fix. Interesting. I didn't know that. Some certificates have been removed from the base images in Docker, from Debian images. And including the .NET SDK images. I didn't know about these fix. It's interesting. In my case, I was just using a different base image, but here you can't because it's an external action that defines the base image. Background task nextStartTime is shown as local time, and there is then the new change, which is better. So the idea is to inject ILocalClock that will help you find what's the local time based on the current settings or any time zone provider that a module could provide. And with localClock, you can say local no async. This is not good. Now, it doesn't, it's not critical, but it should be made async.
JT already said he'd make a can run async method to sort that out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was fixing the fact that the cron rules were not based on local time. And it was ambiguous then. So now it's based on local time. Admin user tooltip. Okay. Good. Good stuff. Okay. Now, questions? Then demos. Let's start with Antoine, alphabetical order. Noayo.
Okay, So I'm going to make a little demo of a website I created. That's a personal project. The website is called Noayo. So Noayo in French, it's like core. French to English. It's not spelled the same way, but Noayo means core. So Noayo, this way. So that's an Orchard-core hosting platform. And thanks to it, it allows you to create your own Orchard-core instance online. And you can use a Bootstrap template I created. So I'm going to show you the hosting plans. You have two plans. The first one is $5 per month. So you have 14 trial days. You have a limited storage and content items, and I will redistribute 20% of the earnings to contributors. So for the $5 plans, I will sponsor $1, and for the $10 plan, I will sponsor $2 to these Orchard-core contributors. Those
and
are
user ones, who cares? Are useless.
Yeah, in fact, there are no other Orchard-core contributors with GitHub sponsorship, except Hisham has a PayPal account, and the other one has a GitHub sponsor activated.
So if you want to be in this list, enable GitHub and contribute. Good job.
Yes. So right now, if you want to request an account, you can send me an email to request a new account. So when you are logged, so this user, there will be a step to create your website. So we have to specify your site name. If you want to be redirected to your domain name, you can specify it, and I will configure it to make the redirection to the domain name. I will recall the plan that has been selected and the template, and you will have the setup step to create it. So this one is a running instance. So if I open it, this is, you can see a subdomain ag.noayo.com. But if I configure the domain name binding, it will be redirected to your own domain name, to your own site URL. So this is the home page. You create it with the admin user, and you are able to manage it as you want. So you have, for example, those content items, the home page, the blog page, or the components page. So this one is pretty simple. The home page. A simple one is also the about page. The blog, it's a list part with blog post. You can see you can specify an image. And I used, as I demonstrated last week, the custom user settings to be able to specify, to use the custom user settings. So for example, if I go to the users, edit the admin, there is a profile tab. I can change the author, the description, add a picture for this owner. So as you can see here, so that was the blog post, and for example, I give a components page, so you can find some components that you will be able to reuse, like you see these blocks with icons, title and description, a call to action, with text and buttons, some cards, some animated cards, you can see it, some counters, some FAQ, some other card icons. If you want a picture gallery, media gallery, you can use this kind of masonry layout. So I include tiny slider, so you can specify a slider. So those are just HTML blocks you can use in other pages. I am also including a few modules that I created. There is the Prism module, so you will be able to use syntax highlighting. I'm providing the cookie consent module for GDPR, an SEO module, so that's a simple one. I can show you SEO. Where am I? SEO admin. So if on a content type like the page, you added the SEO part, you will be able to edit the content item homepage. There will be a simple SEO tab, and if I go back to the page, there will be, you see, the meta description and the meta keywords that I specified. Pretty simple. And I also include a discuss module, so you can add comments to your blog. And that's it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone can create a blog. Oh, but we have to pay. Oh.
And of course, you are also able to add a widget in multiple zones, like the head, the navbar, the header, the sidebar. I can show you like I did in a previous meeting. You can enable these archives and put it in the blog layer. And you can also edit, of course, the footer. So you see the footer is a liquid widget, and you can edit it as you want. So if I refresh the blog, you can see there is an archives widget going to an archives page.
Thank you. So now we want to see Lambix and Super. I think they can do better. Awesome. Questions, comments?
Looks great. It's a very pretty theme you've used.
Thanks. Okay, Dean. Photoshop.
Oh, okay. Let me share my screen and we'll look at a bit of Photoshop.
I have a question for Antoine. Where's this dark mode?
Ask him.
A good question. So we'll look at some widgets again, actually, because I've been contributing to Orchard Core for 2 or 3 years now, and every time somebody says use a layer, Sebastian says don't use a layer because it's too slow. But we use layers a lot. I think layers are really useful. So I've added a rules module, which allows you to build rules in the layer without using JavaScript, which should be a lot faster.
It's funny because that's how it was called in Orchard 1.
Yeah, well, you know,
the rules module.
And it probably had conditions. I mean, I remember the module from Orchard 1.
Yeah, they made a very simplistic logical expression interpreter. And yes, you had your expressions and you had custom method names and parameter, and that's it. And it's just later that I added JavaScript, but yeah, that was it. Good job. Rules.
Absolutely. So rules. So we expand the rules a little bit. So what we have now is when you edit your layer, you have rules that you can add to a layer with a nice little pop-up. And for example, in this layer, the always layer, it just has a Boolean condition of true. Or you can choose to be false if you're making this layer a never wanting to render. And then some of the other layers, we have in this case a home page condition. This one also gets nice little options. You know, is the home page or is not the home page? Because you might want to have the negative. We have a slightly more complicated one. So we have a URL here, and this is actually mapped in a all group. So if we were to say add another URL to this, my filtering doesn't work. I haven't even tried it. We've got choose the URL, choose the kind of comparison operator that you want to use on the condition that you're going to apply to it, and say URL equals, let's say contains blog. And in this case, with an all condition, both of these rules that we've set here now need to be true. Obviously, they're both true. Well, no, the first one's true because it's blog post, and the second one's true because it contains blog. But you could vary that if you wanted to. So if we were to look at that on the site, that one shows on the home page. The always one renders. We'll get to the authenticated one in a second. But when we go to this blog post, which is on blog/post, which was one of our first conditions, we should have, blog posts all there. But if we were to go to the second blog post, which I've aptly titled not a post, even though it is a post, we don't see that layer. What else have we got? So there's more rules. There's the anonymous one. There's the authenticated one, which is just the anonymous condition. This is specifically, it is anonymous, so there's no kind of true or false setting on it. There's no settings at all. Same for authenticated. I haven't had time to do we have another rule, is enroll, which is a very useful one. And there's a culture rule as well, which still needs to be done. And I've also added a content type rule here, which you can use to evaluate based on the displayed content type. And again, it has the option of operators, so you can have content types that start with, I quite often use section as a name for a range of content types that are reasonably similar. So you can pick what you want there in terms of rules. You can also have, I'll just delete that for a second because I haven't quite added the drag and drop yet. So you can have two types of groups. You can have an all group, which gives you, in which case all of the rules inside the group must be true, or you can have an any group, which is basically or. So you could go, and here you could go content type, article, or content type. Blog, and then it will show on the article pages and the blog pages. One of the other rules that's here as well, just looking through them quite quickly, is a JavaScript rule, funnily enough. So in the case of some of the migrations, what we might do is migrate all the JavaScript rules that we don't necessarily know and can't identify into a JavaScript rule, and then allow people to migrate them to the other rule conditions over time. So yeah, that's the demo. Nice quick one.
Can you go back on the one right before? If you go back, what does it mean? Rules, any condition group or, and on the bottom there is also JavaScript condition. Is it end between the or? Okay, so by default you can add multiple rules and they are all ends.
Yep.
Okay, so you just use the all condition group if it's a subgroup.
Exactly. So, I mean, you don't want to build up too many complicated ones, but you could add another all group in here. And then add a couple of nested. They can nest as much as you want, but you're not probably going to want to nest them too much, but it's quite possible. So we could go
put an end inside the or. Oh, yeah. Okay. So if you had one in the all.
So I've got, and we're going to end up writing a rule here that can never evaluate to true.
Yeah, just to see how it works.
But just to see how it works.
Yes, personally, I would just have exposed the and or groups as a first class element on this screen, so that they are not. It's interesting that they are just like any other rule, but I don't know if it would make a better UI, more intuitive to say you can add ends and ors. I'm not sure it's better.
Yeah, I kind of looked at that. I got inspired by the jQuery query builder, but having the ands or ors kind of at the top level just made it a little bit more confusing. Perhaps I need to say and here, or have a better hint to say that any of the rules you add there must be true. didn't want to try and overly confuse the UI, but it could go that way, yeah.
So if you edit the description, oh, can you? Oh, you can't. Can you edit description of a rule? Because right now it's generated. Can it be? No, okay, there is no description.
Oh, it's a name.
Oh, there's a name. So
that's the description which shows up.
Oh,
here.
that's where, okay. So the type is still displayed. It's not like type what you want. Okay.
Yeah, so I still show the type. There's still a bit of work here to do on the UI because Gulp seems to have broken at the moment, so I can't, because I wanted to have drag and drop between groups.
Yeah, when you're, yeah, so you can move.
When
yeah, that's why I'm saying maybe it's easier if it's just a first class concept on the main controller that you can drag and drop, add things to groups, and then you just have leaves in the groups. So you just end it, yeah. Might be easier.
It could be. The only problem that went with that was so if you have an any group here, and or if I delete a few of these, if I delete that one. So if you at the top level, if you would, and maybe it's just a tab or something instead. If you had 2 JavaScript conditions, yeah, just to make sure that it won't work, and then want to add a group to it. How do you force that those JavaScript conditions now must be in some kind of a group?
That's why you need drag and drop.
Maybe is why you need drag and drop. What was so jQuery? So the query builder for jQuery had this concept. They just tab them as to what group you've got at the top. So you can either select and or so that you know that you're always in a group. But I didn't like how they split out the add rule and add group, and it felt like the UI was a bit too complicated.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure there's someone who's found a good solution for that. I don't have one in mind, but
this is not bad. This is not a bad one, but yeah.
Now it's faster.
Well, it should be faster.
You haven't tried.
Well, it seems faster. I mean, it seems fast on my machine. Admittedly, I've got the mini profile.
No, I'm not sure you will see it. Like you need to run a load like with Bombardier.
You need to test drive that one. So one of the things I did do was make it async because the JavaScript rules aren't interpreted async at the moment, and I've already got rules that use get await as.
But then value task and not task.
Yeah, value task. Yeah.
Because they're more often non-async.
Yeah.
In their implementation.
Yeah, so most of our implementations are non-async, but yeah, I use value task, and so we have a nice little. It still needs a bit of optimizing, but there's a rule migrator I started, which will just migrate.
So why not just make it generic, like take whatever is inside the thing, the name. Oh, but because you don't have a name first, okay. But yeah, here I see if it's called. Oh, I see, because, oh, no, sorry. Okay, so you replace these two explicitly by the new better ones. You didn't do like, oh, JavaScript before, JavaScript now.
Yeah. So these ones, which are low in quantities, because
makes sense.
We use them in the recipes.
Yes, that's good.
And same with probably is anonymous and a couple of the other ones, but the other ones just go straight to JavaScript. And I think it still makes sense to have a JavaScript condition because, of course, you can do more with it.
Yes. Okay.
But if you want to implement your own, then it's just a matter of implementing a couple of classes and you've got your own.
Do you cache the trees?
I have, so the evaluation itself is cached in the layers module. So
it might already have been done. Yeah.
Yeah, I think already that optimization has probably been applied.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we got.
Thank you. Yeah, if someone can find, well, it's good as it is, but I'm sure we can find a better way to manage these groups. I like to be able to give it a name for everything or a description, like you did for the layer, for the roots, because here you see JavaScript condition, JavaScript condition. So if at least you display the beginning of the condition like we do for the rest, for the or, for instance, that would be interesting. But if we could provide a name, that might be also better.
Yeah, we could certainly name them.
If we don't want for the name, yeah, like do we do this way? Yeah, okay.
But we could pretty this up as well, and
yeah, that's fine. Or
that could be badged or something along those lines over time.
If you keep the and or as roles, then if it can be drag and drop, that's perfect.
Cool. I mean, one solution might just be to add automatically, always add an all group when it gets created, so it's just sitting there waiting to have stuff put into it.
That could be a default, just to make it obvious that it's an end. But yeah, but still, like now you want to move two of them inside a subgroup. That's, yeah, I see what you mean. You're trying to see how you don't have to create drag and drop, because that's a lot of work.
No, the drag and drop's easy. I just need to fix the goal pipeline. Did I? No, maybe I turned it off. I think I turned it off.
You've got a cursor.
I've got a cursor. The CSS is there.
Yes. So if it could be moved, that would be great.
I think drag and drop is not actually too hard.
And then you can keep the and or as rules, so that you add a all and any all, and then you can drag and drop them. That's cool.
Cool.
Awesome.
So that was that one.
There's another one.
I have another one. I might save it for next week, maybe. We've already seen it. I just did the feedback. It was this one with the let me switch branches and we'll have a quick look at it.
What is it?
So it's dynamic permissions for users.
Oh, we talked about it recently. Okay, we can see that next week. Cool.
Yeah, we can see it next week. Sounds good to me.
Oh, cool. Next week. Thank you. Screen. Then I will just take 2 minutes to show you the progress I made on free and core integration. So much work. Oh no. Where is my branch? Here. Nope, this one. Doesn't work yet, but I'm working. So much work because I broke everything. So remember last time I showed you the new version of Read doesn't change much, but some little differences. The perf was not as good as before. I haven't tried to find why, but I made it faster actually. And the big change though, I want to show you how it looks like now, as soon as Visual Studio loads that. To show you how everything liquid related integrated modules.
This is why you should use Visual Studio Code.
I could have opened it in Visual Code, but it was working. Just I switched the branches. I can still do that. Let's try. Instantaneous. So okay. So example. If I go to the liquid module, so here, open. So Orchard Core, let's see, Orchard Core, display management, liquid, and this add liquid views. So add liquid views is the same here. So the main thing now is that when we wanted to add a filter, we had to do template context.add filter. Now it's instance-based. It's more a static thing that you set. So you just say configure these options, which are fluid options, and you can just say add filter. Okay, and the same way you can remove filters. And these options is a singleton for each tenant. So each tenant now will have different filters. Okay, that's the first thing. And a module could remove a filter also. Now value converters, same thing. It's fine. Yeah, it's better if it's also per tenant. So everything now is per instance, per tenant. It's the more static thing that is global to every tenant. It was bad. So this is how to define converters. Member access strategy, same thing. Now it's an option. This is just to define what is available in the templates, what is allowed to be accessed, or to do some dynamic conversion. That same thing. So members, what else? Tags. Where are the tags? Where are the tags? Here. Here. This is instance of the fluid parser. This is an instance that is a singleton also for site. And this is how you register for your site custom tags. So this is the default set of tags, but any module can provide a new tag just for the tenant. Okay, because this is on this instance. So this is something that will be available also in the template options. Or there is something called liquid options. Maybe not this one, but that will have the parser, so we can configure the parser just for this instance. That is where it will be. So that's about it. So if I take a module that provides Markdown, for instance, if I go to a module here, auto route, there are some things. And I go to the startup. This is now where you configure all liquid options in the startup. Configure template options, and you see the models you want to customize and the custom properties we want to exploit, and that's where it's done. And it's also removing the event handler. Another change is if I take a filter. What do I have a filter? This one was super painful to implement. When you're the filter, so this is a class, but we don't care, just a method that we need. So this is a static method, connection set, and you have access to template context. And if you cast it to the liquid template context, then you have access to the services. So we don't have to put the services in ambient values like before. And also we don't have to resolve the services for every template, for every service that we might need in a thing every time we render something. So that should be faster. Much less work to do. So that's the changes I'm working on. It's still not building, but so many things to change. I didn't realize we have so many customizations.
So are you you're intending to keep those as static instances, or static classes, the filters?
No. I mean, they are registered dynamically, but it's just that what we had before is a filter had to implement a custom interface. So they were every filter was all in a single class. So it's easier for me to just migrate by removing the interface, making it a static class, a static method, and just pointing to this method when we register it dynamically. Okay? So it's not static. It's just that the filter is in a static method because it will reserve the services it needs when it's invoked. But that's it. There is nothing static at all inside. The filter just doesn't need any state. The only state it needs is either from the template context or from the services.
Yeah, no, I get that it has that. It's just it's be nice if they could be instances and not even have to use the template context to get the service provider and just DI inject them. So like where they registered, if they took a func or something, so that it could actually.
So here you can
do fine.
A, B, so whatever is that? What is that? Fluid value, filter arguments, and CK. So so I something like input arguments and context. So you can do that exactly the same way, okay? But then when you need the service inside this method here, then you need to get the service. And to get the service, you need to ask for the context service. And then resolve, okay? Get required.
Yeah.
That's the key. And this will be invoked.
I'm just sorry, I was just
so this
kind
will
of
be
thinking about
invoked.
the
we could have a custom wrapper that will use a constructor and then a custom delegate here that will actually do like the DI and from each element in the constructor try to resolve the thing and create the object. I'm not sure it's necessary.
maybe for the future. I was just thinking how MVC on the MVC options, when you add filters to it, you can just pass a type and it will instantiate the type from the container or register the type in the container. But you know, it's enough work to get this in at the moment, so great, looks good.
And that's something we were doing before actually, because it was interface before. Well, it was interface that was, but we were still calling ambient values, which was weird. Yeah, but my goal is that it can be customized for each tenant, and it's faster, and it should be faster. Hope I can see that. The rendering is faster actually with this new version. We'll see. I give you numbers when it's done, when it works. And as I'm implementing that in Orchard, I'm doing some changes because I'm finding things that are not super useful, like the culture info was on the template option, but actually you might want the culture info for each template and not global for your tenant. Because it's on each request, you can have that. So I had to integrate that in the template context also. Little changes. That's it. No more. Good. Questions, comments?
Actually, may have like two questions for you, Sebastian.
Go on.
First one is created a PR on your SQL repository about dropping indexes for SQL Server, but found a way to be able to drop them for instances of a SQL Server that are under 2016. So yeah, this way it would work. But do we want to support under SQL Server 2016 is the question. And
so it's supported if it can be tested. We can't even test that right now. Maybe.
Yeah, we can test. We can test because there's Docker image for SQL Server 2014.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, interesting. But yes, then I need maybe to move to GitHub workflows, because what we did recently is we added. Oh, we are testing. No. That's the issue. Let's see. Yes, that's the issue. So the issue is that, okay, on Aveo, I'm testing on 17 and 19 because this image here, the Visual Studio 2019, only has 17 and 19. If we want to test on 16, we need to use an older Visual Studio image, but then we don't have Net5 anymore, so that's an issue. But if you say that there is a Docker image with 2016, which I didn't know, then we should migrate to Docker. Can we do Docker? Yeah, maybe we can do Docker images and Albeon, or I can just migrate to GitHub Actions, like I do for the other things, or we do on Orchard, and then we could use that. So then that would be fine. If we can test on 2016, then we can implement 2016. But everything has to work on 2016 because we can't say, oh, we support the indexes, but we don't support everything else. So
the
way that I was seeing this,
the thing that won't work on 2014 or anything below 2016 is the index lengths that we've chosen for things like the alias part and the auto root part, because the key length indexes on 2014 are about a quarter of the size that they are on 2016. So while it will run Orchard, it won't support the full feature set of Orchard.
At least 2016?
I don't agree to
2016, no problem.
So just my 2016 is fine.
Yeah, but I don't agree totally with what Dean just said, because it will work. And about the indexes, I mean, we could manage them differently for SQL Server 2014. Then the other question I had, maybe we should have a provider in SQL for SQL Server, which is separated for the database that are under 2016.
Sure.
So that we could keep the SQL, the current class that we have, we keep it like that, and we create just another one for supporting everything under that.
No, if there is some changes in the dialects that are too big, then yes, definitely there will be a custom dialect. And that's easy because, I mean, when we go in the configuration, where is the configuration?
So this way we could catch every issue that we have for people that are using SQL Server under 2016.
Where is that?
And you don't need indexes to run Orchard. So, and so this is
the idea is that we use SQL Server. Same way we can say use SQL Server 2016. That will select the correct dialect here. That's a different class on that. That can inherit from it if there are lots of common things, but we can have a custom dialect and a custom use whatever mentioned.
Yeah, this is what I was checking this morning.
But if you want to support that then in Orchard, then in a dropdown, you need SQL Server and SQL Server 2016. Two options, because we have to call different methods. We have to know which one it is.
Yeah.
Unless we can do it dynamically, but I'm not sure. I think it needs to work. We can see what to do. Yeah, no, I'm not opposed as long as we can run the test and we support everything. If you want to run the test locally, that is the first thing to do. Did you?
Yeah.
It worked.
And the other question was about Fluid, and I checked this morning, and when we do now from Liquid, it's going to return the current system time.
Yes.
Which I was asking myself, because currently right now we can't have a UTC date from Liquid. We can't retrieve a UTC date, which is the now date. So we'll need to add like a filter for that, or the other option was to simply use the now function from Fluid and to retrieve the UTC every time.
What are you talking about, Fluid or SQL?
Fluid.
Just Fluid now returns
just
the UTC now.
No, it's returning the system time, the current system time, which is not UTC.
UTC now?
It's not UTC now.
It's what? Local now?
Yeah, it's local now.
Oh, it's local?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, wait. Okay, 1 second. that's what liquid. Okay, let me check 1 second. You will see fluid.
Yeah, I need to know why.
Oh, because it's the spec. If it's doing that, it's because it's the spec. So where is it? Oh, here. And then I will have the answer for you. Boom. Data span, data offset. Okay. 0 meaning local. Yeah. So the spec says now is the local time. That's what it says. Okay. But 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Template options. You can override the now in the options. We can change it. Okay, by default, it's the local one. That's the spec, but we can change it if we want. And it could be using something from our tradition. It will need to be async in this case. So that's one thing. We can change the provider for the now, but the default is local. Then there is something else, which is time zone. Which is new in Fluid. Probably
yeah, I tried that too. We can retrieve UTC date because it's going to add a -8 time zone at the end of the date, and you can format it. So you're going to get your UTC now.
There is a filter. What I want to say is that there is a filter now.
Yeah, there's a filter.
So there is a time zone filter, and then you can define that you want it to do UTC. So you can do now pipe time zone UTC.
It's now /local, I think.
Okay, I know.
We don't have like now pipe UTC, which would be really helpful.
I don't have the time zone documented. Ah, okay. I will have to look at that. Okay, I know because I added the custom package for that. Very nice one.
This is
time zone.
Yeah, this is the reason why we add like a PR in SQL for adding the now function for SQL, because people could not have a UTC date.
UTC. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So time zone is one solution, and yeah, actually that's something that works because we can get the time zone in Liquid from the site settings, the current time zone.
Yeah.
So we can. So maybe it's just that the version we're using doesn't have this filter yet, but it will once I'm done with the PR. And then we can also change if we want the now to be based on the settings. I might have to make it async, but that's it.
Yeah, if you have time, I mean, if you already have a lot of work with what you're doing already, maybe a second PR.
No, I mean that would be nothing compared to everything else. No, this could be async. You see now here it's changed to something else, so it should be async. It should be now async because.
And I think I just looked last night, and I think Liquid from Shopify are using UTC when they're calling now.
I don't agree. So this is a JS implementation. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Now, and you can do date. I don't know what you can type here. Oh crap. Okay, I don't remember.
Normally just now it should work, but
format D. Format date. No, there's something like that. I don't remember. I don't remember how it works. So sad. Format date. Okay. Doesn't work. Stupid. Okay. But that's
maybe it's just not working now.
Or maybe specific. No. I should maybe specific to Fluid. That's probably that, because you might not be able to do that. Okay, I have to check, but I'm pretty sure that I implemented the spec. Okay, I will fix that.
I will take a look and send you this on Skype if there's not something that
Okay.
I find.
Thank you.
That's all for me. Thanks.
All good? I can mention that. Look at the benchmarks. Render. Be super fast, super fast. It used to be like 2 times that on the render, 3 times that on the parse. So I hope we can see that now with the next spreadsheet. All good. Thanks, everyone. See you next Tuesday.
Thanks.
Bye.